Pew 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 pew. Bubble figure, bubble figure, bubble. La la. Hey, Katie, woo. Whoopity whoopty woo. All right, what's going on here? Yeah. Yeah. Huh? When you get in here, hit the like button and say what's up. Don't be shy. I already did that. Don't be shy. Just say hi. Eat glorious bastards. Bastards. What's up? Dang it. Why don't this thing scroll? I always like your name. Dope ass name. I guess it makes a little less sense, which your thumbnail's different now. But obviously because of Splatoon. Sup, homie? Sup? Phone on the charger. Right. Emotion. Yeah, I know. I know why you named yourself that. I remember seeing your old thumbnail, or your thumbnail, your old what do you call it? Your profile pic. I suppose that's the best way to use it. I remember that. So my audio good, video's good. I mean, my let me move here. Back. There we go. Crust on the lips. Thank you, thank you. Wait a little bit longer for hopefully more people to file in. Starting so damn late. I didn't. Well, I thought I'd be late tonight. I was hoping to be about 40 minutes earlier than I am now, but this is all right. Definitely cool for the West Siders or West Coast folks. Hope to see Laker Link drop in here. My other West Siders, but East Coasters too, because we a lot of us are chilling, you know, on that Corona chill. I'm talking about the beer. Good beer, by the way. Just popped in to say hi. I'll have to watch later. I've got to work at 5:30 in the morning. Oh my goodness, where are you? Are you on the west side? Are you on the east side? You in the middle? Thanks for dropping in anyway. Illinois. Cool. That's central. Well, I guess some parts of it. But thanks for dropping in. This time won't be regular, so I just was a little bit indecisive on whether or not I was going to stream. And I just said, whatever, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get anybody in here. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I wanted to come up with a better... What I got, like... Got beeswax in my hair? Or is that just grays? Oh my goodness. Not get the beeswax out good enough. I'm sitting here doing my hair on stream. And it's funny because I don't know why I'm using... I don't know. I guess this is good. And I hope they ain't grays. Are they grays? I don't want no grays. I don't want those. What's that? That's gotta be beeswax. I need a mirror. I'm trying to use my camera playback as a damn mirror. That better not. I can't tell what that is. Shouldn't be sitting there playing with my hair. Stream. Got beeswax on the fingers now. Beeswax. Shout out to the dread boys out there. You know what the beeswax is all about. My dread brethren. Oh man. I tried to watch that PS5 event a little bit ago. Made it 5 minutes in before I turned it off. Good on you. I watched the whole thing pretty much. I mean, I wasn't paying attention completely, but yeah, it was on, and I was watching it casually after about 15 minutes when I realized what it was going to be. A PowerPoint presentation for developers. I don't know why. I don't know why you make it a big thing, but I guess we can go ahead and start. I mean, I don't expect there to be as many people. I'm sure people will file in a little bit more people. Yeah, that PS5 event. Like, some people are like, well, you can't be too hard on it because it was a what do you call it? It was a developer thing. It was a snippet. It's because of GDC got canceled, so they put this out. But okay, because most of the things that happen at GDC, we don't see live anyway. We don't see in any long capacity unless you like really dig in and start watching like videos about it, and start seeing the videos on presentations and whatnot. You'll see stuff like that. But GDC was canceled, and this is for the developers for the most part. I mean, there is information in there that the average gamer or the average armchair developer would like to know about. But I think you can put that out in a little press release as far as like, the numbers, the specs, the numbers, and all that. And as far as the, just what your goals are. I mean, you kind of went over it already as far as the SSD and what they want to do with that, and the speeds, and just to harp on that a little bit. I think it's really funny, and it's not just video games, or it's not even just Sony or whatever, but how technology just like starts at one place, and it's like, oh, we're gonna advance and enhance and do all these things, and they end up coming right back around to what they started with, and it happens all the time. We saw it happen with phones, where phones were super big at first, cell phones, because that's how the tech was. The tech, they couldn't make the tech small enough to fit in a small device. So cell phones started out really big. If you want to go back into like the military ones, they were huge. But then you get to like commercial ones, and they were still pretty big and solid. They were like the size of a old school cordless phone for you old folks out there. And then they got smaller and smaller. You got the flips, you got the razor, it was razor thin, you got those, and then all of a sudden phones started to get big again. They went, to be in the smallest, from big to large, or from large to small, to be more convenient, easy to put in your pocket and all that good stuff, to being back big again. And so with computer technology, video games, and all that, we're back to where we started from in a way, because we started with cartridges. Obviously, Nintendo is like the only one that still does them, but we're back to an emphasis on getting into the games quick. We want to be able to play the game and get into it quick. And there's some technical stuff as far as what the developers can care about, as far as their games, the game worlds and whatnot, loading faster. That's not really us, but from a gamer standpoint, we want to be able to turn the console on, get in as quickly as we can, start playing our game. And it's funny that that's the emphasis again. It's better. It's still better than what we had, but it's funny that that's the emphasis. But the only company, the game company that really cared about your time and all that stuff, was Nintendo, and they didn't get any accolades for it. Obviously, they had the cartridges. They didn't want to give up the cartridges when everybody else is doing CD-ROM, which was super slow. And Nintendo saw that, and they were like, right or wrong. For me, I'm glad they did it, because it made their console unique, but it also hurt them as far as third parties. But at the end of the day, in the history of things, I will take that. But they cared about speeds. That was one thing they talked about with the N64, when people said, why don't you do the CD-ROM thing? Cartridges are expensive, and they were, but they cared about game loading and all that stuff, and gamers being able to just plop it in and play, and not have to deal with load times and the downside of it. Now, the problem is the upsides of going with CD is that you had the bigger medium to put more stuff on. So you make full motion videos, and a lot of people did that. And did CD quality audio. So there were definitely bigger upsides, I would think, especially when consumers seem to start just accepting, the fact that they have to sit and wait for loads, the way PCs did. And then even on GameCube, they made the GameCube this smaller, because one of the main reasons, not just for proprietary reasons, a lot of people like, oh, they were worried about piracy and stuff, and they were. But another big reason they made them that size is because they're quicker to read when they're that size, and they cared about load times. And GameCube had some really impressive load times over the other consoles, and that was a great thing. And obviously, it was just as powerful, maybe a little less than the Xbox OG, but the games loaded faster, and similar games or whatever. So Nintendo cared about that, and they still cared about it on Wii. It's not talked about as much, but they cared about making sure the disc reader on the Wii was quick, and that was an emphasis for them. And it is. It's still much faster. It was still faster than something like the PS2. Definitely faster than PS3, obviously. But the games on the PS3 were more intense, so that's why I didn't want to use that comparison. But if you use GameCube, if you use PS2 and Xbox OG, Wii was faster as far as loading goes on that. So that was an emphasis for them. But now, like, everybody else is coming back around to caring about my time and to caring about our time as gamers, and us wanting to get in and play our games as quick as possible. And the Switch is really good at that. That's one of the things that it's great at, is that I can get out of the game, come right back in where I was just by pressing, just lightly tapping the power button. It goes to sleep, and I can just start up exactly where I was when I come back. Now you have, the newer systems you can suspend, multiple games. And my guess is that those are games that are digital only. That would be my guess, because if you have a game where you put the disc in and take it out and try to put in another disc, I don't think it will work that way. So I think that's not really something they're talking about. But, most people aren't going to suspend 5 games or something like that, or even 3 games, maybe 2 here and there. But it's kind of funny that we come around to that. But let's talk about the event itself, and I use event with air quotes because, man, that was visual ambient. That was a 1997 PowerPoint presentation. And that's not exciting for gamers. Yeah, it's cool to have information, but if you're gonna, this is, again, essentially, you put this out for not just the developers. You could have just sent them, a video file of this. You could have sent it to all the developers, and we would have not known nothing about it unless one of them leaked it or something like that, which they probably would have at some point. But Sony made it a big thing. They put it out on their Twitter. They let you know that we're going to have an event. We're going to stream it. You guys can get ready to watch it, anticipate information about the PS5. And, it was quite underwhelming. It was something I would expect Microsoft to do. And they kind of did that. Or they didn't kind of do it. They certainly did it with the Xbox One, the reveal event for Xbox One. But even then, even with the reveal event for Xbox One, they actually revealed what the console looked like. At least, it's like, and again, I understand this is for the developers, blah, 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 blah. Well, keep it for the developers if you're not going to give some kind of a tidbit or some kind of a bone to the fans. And yeah, a lot of Sony fans are pretty annoyed because this whole situation seemed pretty tone deaf. You could have put out your press release, cut this thing down. It was 50 minutes long, if not a little bit more. I mean, did it have to be? Yeah, sure, fine. But again, save that part for the developers. Put out something different for the fans. Condense it down to 15 minutes or something like that, where you just hit the major things. And you could have went through those major things and edited it up to a 15-minute thing. That would have made it better. I think people still would have been annoyed by the fact that we didn't get any visual on what this PlayStation looks like. I don't know why that's a big deal for something that's supposed to come out at the end of this year. And end of this year sounds like a long time, but we're about to hit April. Consoles usually launch in November. So we're talking 7 months, 6 months, not that long of a time to show at least what the thing looks like. So you can get that out of the way. Show the controller. I don't understand the secrecy around that at this point. Microsoft showed the Xbox Series X last year. They didn't really give it any specs. I think they might have put out the 12 teraflops thing, but why? I don't understand why the secrecy around the build of it, and the controller, or one or the other. What's the, I know they're touting the, at least with the controller, they're touting the innovation and all that stuff they're putting into it. And I just never take Sony seriously on that. And people will take the story and run with it. Oh, they're going to do all these crazy innovative things with a controller that no Sony fan is going to care about for the most part. Sure, some will care and use these things. But at the end of the day, if Nintendo can't keep people excited about the features and the Joy-Cons, which are pretty cool, if they can't do that, Sony is supposed to like really revolutionize the control. No, it's not going to happen. It's going to be some thing that they can talk about and get people excited and have people write stories about. But for the most part, nobody's going to care about a controller that can take your vitals, like basically like what Iwata had talked about years ago with the vitality sensor and stuff. This controller is going to be able to do that and take your heart rate, whatever. Supposedly, we'll see how that goes. But it was so sleep-inducing and boring, and it was very tone deaf. And that's why I say it feels like something Microsoft would do. Be somewhat tone deaf. They definitely were tone deaf when it came to Xbox One reveal, talking about TV in 2012. Was it 2012 or early 2013? I can't remember. It was 2013, right? Early 2013. TV. Like, who cared about TV? The writing was on the wall when it came to TV. It was all about streaming. Streaming was the future. I mean, you have quote unquote TV shows from streaming, but nobody was sitting down worrying about live TV, other than like a sporting event, for consumption. Like, that was somewhat, already of the past in 2013. So I don't know. I think it's kind of weird that they went that route, and now it's not the same thing. I'm talking about, the kind of corporate kind of boardroom stuff, that they were putting out during the event for original Xbox. And they later showed games at E3. So that was good. And I kind of expected them to show like one game maybe. But once I saw because that was before I saw the setup for the presentation and what it was going to be about and how it was going to go, then I was like, I don't think they're going to show a game at this kind of event. And lo and behold, they didn't. So that is what it is. But like, this is your first basically official representation of PS5. I mean, it could be garbage, and then the system still be fine. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about just the optics of this being your first reveal of the console, and it looking like it looks. It was, like I said, ambient sleep inducing, and I'm a little surprised. I don't know. I thought Sony was supposed to be, the cool kids. Nintendo was like the family company. Some people say the kiddie company, but Nintendo was like the family company. Sega was like somewhat the cool kids. They tried to be kind of radical dude, kind of to go at Nintendo, whatever. But Sony came in certainly as the cool kids. We're laid back. We let developers do whatever they want. We give them the cheapest medium to do so. We're cool. Crash Bandicoot commercials where they were standing outside of Nintendo headquarters with a bullhorn and stuff. That kind of stuff. And they've been, quote unquote, the cool kid in video gaming since they came in. And this seemed very strange. Now, this is, for me anyway, feels like it's part of a narrative that's starting to build around Sony with what's going on over the last, say, year and a half, with the reshuffling, corporate reshuffling, that just letting people go and unceremoniously. Sean Layden and Did they tweet it out? Yeah, I think Sony tweeted it out like it was nothing. And that was just kind of cold to me. I said I feel like Sony. This happens, and I don't know why. With the history, we have history to show that people should not be doing these things. But every time a company wins a generation, it feels like they win. They get they start feeling themselves. They get really cocky, and they forget what it took, the grind that it took to win. And it feels like Sony's in that situation right now. It feels like they don't value the people who brought them there. Again, we don't know a whole lot of the inside stuff, but from the outside looking in, it feels like, oh, we Sony are the reason the PlayStation did as well as it did, not these individual people. They don't matter. We can shuffle them around, or we can just unceremoniously get rid of them. And it feels like Sony right now feels very corporate, which is, I mean, they're a corporation, but they never felt like corporate, same way Nintendo never felt corporate to me. And Microsoft, did. Because, it's kind of unfair that they have, but, a big part of their history is Windows. So they've always felt like a corporate company, a corporation. And they've had to claw their way. I think they're now trying to be, a gamer company, a consumer. They're trying to change their image to some degree. And I think that's why a lot of their fans, their core fans, have been really pissy the last 3 years or so, because of their, them seeing like they're actively trying to change their image and be more inclusive as far as the type of gamers they have. Because before it was all about the dude bro stuff, the shooters and all that stuff, and they've kind of went away from that. They want to. It seems like to me, anyway, I could be wrong. They want to expand their fan base, which is a good thing. So, but now they have to bring, first party games and whatnot to show that that's what they're really getting down to. So, anyway, yeah, that event was boring as hell. I can't believe I actually sat through it, even though I was kind of doing other things while it was happening. But I'm surprised I didn't click off of it, because it was omega whack. Yeah, I'm really surprised, because Sony's first reveal of the PS4 was much better. They did specs and whatnot, but they also showed games, and they realized gamers were watching this thing, and it feels like they didn't realize that this time around. I don't know. It felt very corporate. Again, people would defend it by saying, "Oh, this was their GDC presentation, blah blah blah," but they're not. This wasn't GDC. This is something that everybody's going to see, and I'm just surprised they didn't realize that, or it feels like they didn't realize it, and they did what they did. Offer on. Let's see. I think I need to do that. That way it's not as hard. Yeah. So I got people in here, but nobody's commenting. I want interaction. Ooh, that was kind of a whistle. Inglorious was in here talking, but nobody else is saying anything. This is my own fault again for starting so late, but it is what it is. Yeah, I lasted 2 minutes. Then watched another video, says King Boom. Yeah. Again, I think I was watching it longer because I was expecting it to kind of shift after they got through the spec stuff, but they never got through the spec stuff. Then they went into audio, and it's like, yo, audio is mad important. But even the tech folks don't, fully understand audio, or overly interested in it, because we all feel like today everything sounds great, you know. So like talking for felt like 15 minutes or so about the audio, I don't think was moving that many people. I'm sure there were some people in the margins that were like, "Oh, that's cool. This, oh yeah, I understand that. PCMs, sure, great." But most people were like bored as hell, especially having something like that be at the end. Um, you know, if you're gonna do it, I would think you should start with that. That way, people are still gonna hang on for the tech stuff, the stuff they really want, the meat. But if you had that at the end, where people were already waning, I think that probably turned some folks off. So it is what it is, unfortunately. It was pretty whack. There will be excuses. There already are. I can't take them, like I said, because of the fact that this was not GDC. Yeah, you could say this was a GDC presentation, but you know, this wasn't GDC. Do this in a press release. You know, if you want to do again a 10, 15-minute video talking about the meat, the core stuff, but sitting here, if you watching that PowerPoint presentation with the little dots that's supposed to represent this or that, that was utter whackness, and I'm surprised that they went down. No, they got down with that. But yeah, since I don't see much going on. Oh, here we go. Dark Sun Rider. I watched it on mute. Why would you watch it on mute? I guess you just, the images popped up, so you saw the numbers and all that. So that works. Mark Cerny, man, I made the joke. Some of the, probably all of us, Juice Boys, were watching it, and we were kind of chatting in the Google Hangout, and I made the joke, or like I said, I made the comparison that it felt like a 1995 PowerPoint presentation. But we were just surprised. I think for the most part we were, that it was that meh. Yeah, Mark Cerny, I almost forgot. This is my point. It also felt like, while it felt like a PowerPoint presentation from the 90s, it also felt like, or early 2000s, it also felt like I was watching an episode of Bob Ross with Cerny's voice, man. I was, I hadn't been up, because I kind of slept in. So I hadn't been up that late, or I hadn't been up that long when it came on. I think I woke up a little bit after 11, but I went to bed like super late playing video games. So it wasn't like I slept 20 hours or something. I actually probably only got like 6 hours of sleep. But it felt like watching Bob Ross, teaching some painting techniques. I was just like, if I had, been up, say, earlier, like 8 o'clock or something, I would have probably been falling asleep watching that thing. And that was probably the only reason I actually sat through the whole thing, was that I wasn't tired at all. And but if I was, that would have definitely helped me. So bad latency. I watched it. I kind of expected Sony would at least break out the old man demo yet again, updated with the fresh render for 4th generation in a row. Yeah, that I'm a little surprised there wasn't some kind of demo. And again, maybe it was because they felt like you really couldn't see it because of the stream or whatever like that. But I'm a little surprised that there wasn't some kind of demo. Nintendo obviously showed games, even in a little trailer back in 2016, but during their January event, they showed games, but I don't think they showed, their typical tech demo. And a lot of that probably had to do with the fact that, the Switch certainly wasn't about that. They did it with Wii U, but I think they wanted to show people that Wii U was pretty capable hardware-wise. At least they wanted to show you that, and so that's why they had that little kind of Japanese garden birds thing, which was okay. That's cool, I guess. But yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do something. I expected to see some kind of tech demo or something with some figures doing something, like they always do. But it was Omega Dry. It's just like slightly animated slides and Mark Cerny's ambient-inducing voice. So there's that. Dark Sun Rider. I'm going to eventually get a PS5 whenever God of War comes out. I'm going all in on Xbox. I don't know if I'd say all in, but I'm certainly going to get a Series X. And, because I wanted to get an X a couple years ago, or at least somewhere around the time it came out. And I just kind of kept waiting and waiting and waiting. I really need to spend it because I didn't have a 4K TV. I didn't have any of that yet, so it was like pointless. And but this year for me is the year of upgrade. So I'm upgrading my laptop, my PC kinda. I'm upgrading the CPU, and all my displays. I have one 4K monitor, but I'm going to upgrade my televisions in the house to 4K, and so I'm like, I might as well go in and or I was thinking now is the time to go ahead and get a 4K capable machine. But even then, like Xbox One X was more powerful than the PS4 or PS4 Pro. It still was kind of not all the way there as far as 4K goes. So I just kept waiting. I was like, because that's what I do with TVs. It's like, don't get the first 4K TV that comes out. There's going to be better models and cheaper. So that's what I did. That's what I'm doing. That's what I did with TVs, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I did with consoles. But another thing about the Series X is that I know it's going to enhance my games from older generations. And a person like me, I do care about that. Some people may not care about backwards compatibility. Some people care about backwards compatibility, and can you say that? Some people care about backwards compatibility when their company of choice cares about it. But as soon as their company of choice doesn't care about it anymore, they somehow magically don't care about it anymore. And we'll get to that too, which I think is strange. If you either like the feature or not, I do like it because I have all my old games, and being able to just pop it into my new system, that's great. And to get an enhancement, that's great. I was just blown away by I was playing Elder Scrolls 3 on Xbox on my Xbox One, and to see the visual enhancement and the frame rate enhancement just kind of blew me away. I was like, this is really cool that that not only is it backwards compatible, but it takes advantage of the hardware. So that's another plus for me, being able to bring my not crazy substantial, but I have over 100 Xbox games, if you can include original Xbox 360 and One. I have all those that I can, most of those that I can play on my current console. That's great, and it enhances it. So that's a very cool thing. I don't have to have all these consoles out. I kind of still do because, like I said, it doesn't play everything, but it plays mostly everything. And just to be able to put it in there, and that's a great thing. And I'm looking forward to certain Xbox games. I'm a fan of the Halo series. I'm a fan of Forza. I used to be a fan of Fable. That's supposedly coming back, and we'll see what that does. And Microsoft acquired some pretty solid studios, so I'm expecting certain things to come from them. And Sony IPs today don't really move me outside of Uncharted. I'm not a God of War fan. I tried. It's not like I didn't try. I bought the trilogy. I started off with the PSP one. What is it? Gods of Olympus or something like that. I started off with that one. I played God of War 1 on PS2. I never finished it. I ended up getting the trilogy HD enhanced. Well, it wasn't trilogy because you got 2 PSP games. So it was Syntilogy. What do you call 5 games? So I got, God of War trilogy. Well, not trilogy because 3 was 3 in that. Well, 3 wasn't in that because 3 was a PS3 game. So it was 4 games. You got God of War 2, and the 2 PSP games. And then I bought God of War 3, and I never finished any of those games. They never held me long enough. They started off kind of, okay, this is cool, to I'm bored, and I never finished them. So, a lot of people say, God of War, the new one is different, blah, blah, blah. I'm just not really that big of a fan of Kratos. As a character, he's not all that compelling to me. Supposedly he's better written and more compelling in this one. He feels more like a person, but I don't know. I'm just, at some point I'll pick it up on PS4 and try to play it. Hopefully I can actually get through it. And then I'll make my decision. But outside of Uncharted, Sony games don't move me. So I'm not a fan of Last of Us. Again, I tried with Last of Us. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try to go through it again on PS4, the Last of Us remastered. But I'm like, Last of Us 2 gameplay doesn't move me, and I'm gonna have to play the first one. And I say again, but I didn't finish it. I probably played it for 4 hours, 5 hours before stopping. But the story never gripped me, and I think that's a big part of it. You have to care about what's the guy's name, and then Ellie. You have to care about these people, but I never really did. So that game never really worked for me. Reminds me of Infamous. I tried with Infamous as well, that series. I don't think Sony really cares that much about Infamous. I don't know if we'll get another one on PS5 or not. But well, they had the studio. They bought the studio that makes it. Sucker Punch, right? That's who makes Infamous. Sucker Punch. Didn't they make Spider-Man as well? They acquired that company, so you would think they might try Infamous again. I don't know, but nobody really talks about Infamous outside of Robert. Robert really loves Infamous Second Son, and again, that's another game that's come on my to-do list. I'm gonna try again, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. I got some more comments in here. Dark Sun Rider. I have the base Xbox One. Yeah, that's what I have too. I have the original model still. So I'm definitely need an upgrade. That's another reason as well. I wanted the upgrade. My fans started getting kind of loud, and I didn't like that. So I wanted to upgrade to an X. I was like, should I get an S or an X? And I was like, might as well just get the X. That's the latest one. But I just waited again, and here we are, Series X. I'm definitely going to get that. I'm not going to wait anymore. So this will be the first Xbox console I pick up at launch, I think. So I didn't get Xbox until 2003, the original one. Mid to late 2003. 360 I didn't get until 2006 summer, and Xbox One I didn't get till 2 years later? Or was it a year later? I think I got it in 2014, right? So about a year later. So Series X will be the first I pick up day one if I can get one. I mean, that depends on what's going to happen with this virus going around, and if that's going to halt production and all that. So we'll see what happens with that. But me finish your freaking thing here. I love backwards compatibility. Really disappointed that Nintendo wasn't doing it anymore. Likewise, you kind of understand on the Switch because it's a way different setup. You can't put discs in it. But it would have been nice to bring over my digital stuff. That would have been a way to quell the fears or anxiety, and also Nintendo. What is it called? I'm about to say Go Nintendo. What is the rewards program and all that stuff? You register games through that. If you bought a game and registered it, you should be able to get it digitally. And I don't think anybody's doing that, but that could have been another way. It can be like, oh, this game is registered to you. If it's a port, from Wii U to Switch, hey, you already registered a game. We'll allow you to have these games that you registered in your account. That would have been cool. But Nintendo is not really good at that kind of stuff, unfortunately. I would like them to get better. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. But let's see. Okay, I read that already. Dark Sun. I'm a lifelong Nintendo fan. By the way, when I said all in on Xbox, I should have said as my second sense. Oh yeah. Same here. It will definitely be my second system with the Switch and whatnot. IPs. Hopefully continue that Nintendo charm. I'll definitely be. It's definitely the company and the system that I get up for. So let's see. You also said God of War is the only IP I like. So you kind of like me. You have that one IP. Yours is God of War. Mine is Uncharted. God of War is I just lost what I was saying. Okay. I am playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I like that a lot. Yeah, I feel like I should like Horizon more. I'm also playing that right now. But sometimes it becomes Verizon Zero Yawn. I just start to get bored with it, and I get to these patches of just not playing it for a couple months at a time. I started off and I really got into it because I really wanted to understand the combat and all that stuff. And it's pretty cool, and the upgrade system and all that. The story is, I feel like it's a little predictable. I feel like I know where it's going to end, but it's okay. A lot of people are crazy about the visuals. There's something's off about the visuals to me. Definitely, it looked good, but there's something off. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from on that, but yeah, Club Nintendo. Thanks. I don't know why. Again, I turn the lights on and my brain goes blank. Club Nintendo. That'd be a nice way to use Club Nintendo. It'd be like, okay, I registered these games. I got points for them, so obviously I registered them in the time allotted. Why can't I just have these games that I obviously bought? Digital, at least digitally on my Switch. The ports and whatnot. That would be nice, but money, man. Let's see, God of War. I read that. All right. I know what you mean. Yeah. So I think you're talking about Horizon, where there's some cool bits in it, but something is just off about that game, and I can't put my finger on it. Obviously it has like, if you played it long enough, Dark Sun, it obviously has like, for me anyway, I think for a lot of people, it has like audio glitching and whatnot, where it will start talking. The person, the UPC, what UPC? The NPC will start talking, and then they'll stop, and you'll just have to read, which is fine, but it's disjointed and janky. Or I've had situations where you're getting all this story stuff, and it just stops. Like the audio just stops, and you're just kind of standing there. And it's like, oh, I really wanted to hear that, and it just didn't. Just says no, doesn't want to work. So, but yeah, something is definitely off about that game. I don't know exactly what it is. I can't put my finger on it. The visual, maybe it's the background. The environments don't really mesh with your character model. Something's off. Outside of the audio glitching and audio being off once in a while. I wish I knew what it was, but I can't figure it out. But I'm going to beat it eventually, probably before summer, because I'm pretty deep into it. That's what he said. Anyway, yeah. What was I talking about? Yeah, Xbox Series X and Sony's reveal. That's another thing. I'm like really surprised that it's still early in the year. I get that. But even with the Switch, we had, inklings of what games, no pun intended, would be coming. We knew about Dragon Quest that kind of slipped and got leaked, or Dragon Quest 11. That's one of the first games we knew about. We knew about Shin Megami Tensei 5 pretty much well beforehand. So there was stuff out there we knew about. We knew about ports because there was rumors and whatnot. So we, quote unquote, enhanced ports were coming. Obviously, we knew Breath of the Wild was coming, which is one of the biggest games. And so, yeah, it was. I'm a little surprised that we haven't had some kind of information about what games might be coming. We have that one game, God something, for PS5. Xbox One, we know Halo's coming. We know the IPs that are coming, but we know Halo was Infinite. It's called. We know that's coming. We know that's by name coming to Series X launch day. So Sony still has time, obviously, but I'm just surprised that something hasn't leaked or something hasn't been rumored or something on PS5. And maybe that's a testament to them being really closed-lipped about it, or maybe there's not a lot going on. I don't know. I'm just surprised because a lot of people have said this. There were some pretty big games coming out on PS4 this year that would have been pretty exciting to hear about as PS5 games. One being Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2. That's a big game. What else? I feel like I'm missing another big one that's coming out or came out this year. So it'd be like, man, those would be really solid titles. Cross-gen. Obviously, you can still play and buy. You can buy and play those games on the PS5, and they'll probably have a little logo or whatever. Once the PS5 drops, that shows PS5 compatible or something like that for those big games. But for the most part, the sales of those games are going to be over by the time the PS5 comes out. And it's like, man, they're missing out on that excitement. Maybe they'll figure out something. Maybe they'll do something to reignite people's interest in those games for PS5. But you also still want, this is a PS5 game, something that won't play in your PS4. That's not going to be a thing for Series X, at least for 2 years. That's what they're saying. And I don't think that's going to be as big a problem as some people are making it out to be. Because the world of gaming has just changed so drastically in the last 4 or 5 years. Stuff that we think, it's got to have this exclusive, blah blah blah, whatever. I don't think it's going to be that big of a thing, because I'm just paying attention to like the gaming habits of young people. As a teacher, I get to interact with my students, and we talk gaming once in a while, and I see them game. They come to class and they're playing, games on their cell phones using their PS5 controller or Xbox controller. I see it all the time. and they don't have that kind of loyalty to gaming platforms. They're still, well, I prefer PS5, or I prefer Sony, I prefer Xbox stuff. That still happens, but there's not that kind of fervent loyalty and whatnot. So I think Microsoft understands that to some extent. They could be wrong. I could be wrong on this. But as far as exclusivity goes and selling hardware, I don't know if that's going to be a thing, because there wasn't great software to sell PS5 or PS4, and that thing still sold like crazy. Xbox One didn't do as well, and they started, putting their games on PC and whatnot, and that didn't help. I don't think the sales of the console itself, but I don't think that's like going to be a big deal going into the next gen, or as big a deal. I just don't think I don't think it's as big a deal for certain companies. I think it's still a big thing for Nintendo, because their IPs are so unique, and they still they continue genres that nobody else seems to care about, like 3D platformers, like outside of like nostalgic games from indie companies. Who big makes a 3D platformer? No one. Like, or a platformer, at all outside of indie companies. Nobody puts emphasis on platformers of any kind. It's always about shooters and third-person action games, and so Nintendo can put out a platformer in this modern era and sell 16 million copies of it. In Mario. And what a great game it was. It certainly deserves those sales. But I don't know. Let's see what Tony McNeil. What's up, Tony? PS5 or PS5. PS Now was always going to be Sony's answer to backwards compatibility. Think about the PS4 and how they hyped PS2 games on the storefront before abruptly abandoning them in favor of PS Now. Once it kind of took off. LOL. Yeah, that's the thing. And this is the joke I also made in the Hangouts when me and the Juice Crew were watching the event, was that Microsoft, if they were savvy, they'd do a similar satirical video about this is how you play backwards compatible games on Xbox Series X. And they just show you, one guy, like they did Yoshida and that one dude, I can't think of his name, handing the game over and putting it in, pulling out an OG Xbox game, taking it and putting it in. And then, that could be their whoa moment, I don't think Microsoft will do that. I think, is it too soft? And no pun intended. I didn't even think about that. Microsoft. But they should. Why not? Take your advantages and elevate them. I think Sony probably has an advantage as far as load times go, but it's not anything crazy. It could end up being 2-1, but I'm not sure about that. Because a lot of that I think depends on developers, and they're going to want to make the process seamless across both platforms they're working on. They're not going to want to do tweaks and whatnot for this platform and tweaks for that one. They're going to want to put out an assembly product. So I don't think the load times will be that big of a difference. And they're both emphasizing it. They both have SSDs. Maybe Sony's emphasizing a little more, but we'll see when it actually comes out how different it's going to actually be. Tony McNeil, Microsoft doesn't even need to do that. Just let Sony keep messing up the reveal of the PS5. That's true. But I think, let them keep doing that. But, they're still going to do an E3 somewhat event. They have their own building. so they can still do their showy thing. I don't know if they'll have a bunch of people in there, obviously because of health reasons. But maybe they decided they hook it up some kind of way to where they can still do a big stagey thing, and because that's something that you would do in a little, 30-second video. This is how you play your old games on your Xbox Series X, and you hand it over, and you make the little satirical faces and whatnot. That I think that would be a nice. If I was in the marketing, that's a video I would make. Because why not? Why not throw a shot where they threw a shot? And make it come back. And fanboys would get upset, but they weren't upset when they did it to Microsoft. They laughed, and it was funny. I laughed too. So play it up. Do what they did. Have a little fun with it, especially since Sony wants to feel really corporate-y right now. You play the cool kid by doing that. See what happens. It's not going to hurt you, So we'll see what happens with that. But Microsoft, I feel like they have a lot of advantages going into this. Not that Sony has a bunch of disadvantages, but they're doing things wrong for as far as the reveal goes, I think. At the end of the day, it's what's going to matter is the console and the games it outputs, and how well it's received by the public. We never know about that stuff sometimes. It's just like, again, why was the PS4 selling that first year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years the way it was? Because there wasn't compelling software on that thing whatsoever. But they got the pricing right, they got the narrative right, and Wii U faltered. Nintendo faltered with Wii U, and Xbox, Microsoft certainly faltered with Xbox One. I think those things were bigger and more imperative as far as Sony's success than, at least in the early goings, than them just actually having this crazy, amazing kind of software or amazing system. So yeah. I think I don't really have anything else to say on that. So actually, I'm going to save one thing for another podcast. I think I'm going to stream tomorrow as well, and you'll see why I'm making the decision to do all these streams. So yeah, Nintendo greatness. As you can see behind me is Skyward Sword Link, the Master Sword, and I think that's a Skyward Sword. What is it called? Strategy guide. I barely use strategy guides, but when it looks that cool, and it's hard to see because there's a lot of light back there. It's kind of blasting it out, but it's a really cool looking. Looks like an old tome, TOME, from from Zelda lore, or relic or whatever, and the case for Breath of the Wild, the Sheikah Slate. I was just like sitting around thinking, man, Nintendo is great. Like their games are great, and obviously I'm gonna have some bias because I'm a big Nintendo fan, but there's a reason why I'm a huge Nintendo fan. And I talked about this before, where it's like I just have a whole lot more respect for Nintendo and Sega than I do for Sony and Microsoft, because Nintendo and Sega couldn't rely on their name brand for video games. Both of them made kind of toys beforehand. Sega did some other stuff, but they had to build themselves up in gaming, and at tricky times, especially when it came to Nintendo, Nintendo came in like right after the crash, and I mean right after, like within months after the crash, they showed up in New York. What? Not New York. They didn't show up until late '85 with the NES. It was different in Japan because the crash hadn't really affected, anything outside of North America or just the Americas. Um, they came out with this little Famicom thing, and it was very toy-like. The Famicom was because the controllers were attached to the system itself, so the wires were actually